Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the right-hand outer tie rod on this 2003 Nissan Maxima. Obviously, the left hand is the same procedure, and this is the same for any 2000 to 2003 Maxima as well as the Infiniti i30. You'll need a new tie rod from 1AAuto.com, jack and jack stands, 15 to 21 millimeter sockets. You'll need a ratchet and probably a breaker bar or a pipe for some extra leverage, pliers, a large hammer, a penetrating oil, as well as we recommend you get a alignment after you replace a steering component like this. Start up by removing the wheel. You're going to want a 21 millimeter socket and ratchet or a breaker bar or your tire iron, and you'll probably want to start with the wheel on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, then raise and secure the vehicle with jack stands, and then remove the wheel and the tire.
At this point, we're going to measure the distance between the end of the boot and the center of the top of the tie rod. Roughly 11 3/4 inches. Yours might be different. Always a good idea to use some penetrating oil on the lock nut. Spray that down, let it soak in. So with our adjustable wrench, size up the nut, holding on the outer tie rod, 13 millimeter open-ended wrench holding the inner tie rod, and free it up. Pull the steering wheel to the right to gain better access. We're going to remove the securing cotter pin through the outer tie rod.
Yeah, I'm just going to speed it up here as Don tries to get that cotter pin out.
We couldn't get the cotter pin fully out, so we're going to use our 19 millimeter 3/4 inch, half-inch wrench, and then try and shear it off. In this case, we might need to use a little extra leverage, the bar over the end of our wrench. And sure enough, it worked.
And I'll speed it up here as we work that bolt the rest of the way off. Quick summary: tried to get the cotter pin out. It just wouldn't come out. It was basically frozen in there. So what we did is took the pliers and broke the ends off as much as we could, and then just got the socket on there and sheared the cotter pin right off by moving the bolt.
And to help release the outer tie rod from the spindle, we're going to use a hammer and hit against the spindle until it frees up. And pops free. Hold the inner tie rod with your 14 millimeter. Twist off the outer tie rod.
Okay, speed up, and Don did misspeak a little bit there. He is using a 13 millimeter wrench to hold that tie rod. So we got the old outer tie rod and the new one, and you can see that dimensionally they're very close. So when they go back in, a alignment should be relatively close to what it was before we removed it. It's always a good idea to put a little anti-seize on the end of your inner tie rod, so that if you ever have to replace it again, it'll come off just as easily as this did. Again, holding inner tie rod. Twist the new tie rod on. Check our length from the end of the boot to the center of the tie rod, and it is 11 3/4, just like it was when we took it out. Place the outer tie rod back into the spindle. It can be a little stiff. Press through.
Now we'll secure the nut. And we set our torque wrench to 55 foot-pounds. And we're going to torque the nut. Now what we're going to do is make sure that the hole in the outer tie rod matches the slot, or one of the slots on the nut. And if it doesn't, giving it a little bit more torque is acceptable, to the point where the cotter pin slides through the outer tie rod and bend the ends that come through back along the side of the nut. With your 13mm wrench, hold your inner tie rod and lock down on the nut.
And fast forward here as we take that lug nut back off, put the wheel and tire on, and just put the lugs on by hand first, and then preliminarily tighten them. Set your torque wrench to 100 foot-pounds and tighten the lug nuts. Use a star pattern, kind of draw a star pattern as you tighten them, and then just recheck them. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.